This conference will now be recorded.
There we go. Now we know it's recording.
Okay. All right. Then I
All right.
will call,
So Kevin Cox,
This is, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Cox is present.
Boss Farrer,
Present.
Charles Jennings, Kaylee Lawson,
Present.
and George Lozano.
George is here.
All right, good. That also means that we can hear each other.
Yes.
Okay, boss, take it away.
Okay. Well, I think number one on our agenda today for the Arkansas City Historic Preservation Board is the consent agenda. Minutes of the previous meeting, February 17th, 2020. Any questions or additions on the minutes? Are there
I
any
thought they
motions?
looked good.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Kaylee.
I said I thought they looked good, and I would motion to approve the minutes as written.
Okay.
Make sure you say who you are.
This is
Great.
Kaylee.
This is George Lozano, and I'll second Kylie's motion.
Okay. So we have a motion by Kaylee Lawson to approve the minutes, and George Lozano has seconded. And can you call the roll, Josh, please?
You can do this by voice. That's fine.
Okay.
For
Okay.
minutes.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Okay, the minutes are approved. The next item is the historic review for a sign at 120 North Summit Street, the Wilson Brewer Munson Law Office. Okay. Now, is there, Josh, do you have anything to say before we
Yes,
ask for
I can do a
discussion?
thing. Does everybody have at least a packet or can see it on the screen?
George can.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that you all had something. It doesn't look like we have anybody from the public, so we're not going to worry about that too much right now. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you about this sign. You might remember at our last meeting in February, they actually started to talk about this sign. Basically, we're still looking at the same guidelines we look for all signs. I'll just go ahead and read our regular guideline. They're using new illuminated signs and appropriately scaled signs and logos, signs that project over the sidewalk unless they were a characteristic feature of the historic building, or other types of signs that would obscure, damage, or destroy remaining character-defining features of the historic building are not recommended. And this sign,
Okay.
and we'll go ahead and scroll down to that sign. I should have had this. So this is what the sign looks like, if you can see it on the screen. It's just an 8-foot by 4-foot sign. George Lay Signs would be proposing to install this. It's not lit, and it is, of course, on the wall in the same area that our sign from last month was. So this second image that I have up on my screen now shows where it would be placed right next to the other one. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think the other one is in place yet. But so it's in the same general location that was approved by this board at the meeting last month. The only other thing is we'd want to make sure that they take care when they're mounting it to make sure that they don't damage the building. But George Lay is pretty good about taking care of that.
That's right.
Correct.
I agree. This is George Lozano, and George Lay does a good job.
This is Foss Fair, and maybe I'm wrong, but I thought I saw the other sign, the Brittany Dunlap sign already up, but maybe I'm wrong.
Did they get it up? I haven't looked recently.
Yes, I believe you're right, Foss.
Okay.
I've been kind of out of the loop.
Yes. Well, this is Foss again, and I from the picture and from what the one that's already up, I think the other one actually would be good because it's very symmetrical, and I think the signs would work okay. How about anybody else want to say anything?
I would agree
This is
with you,
George.
Foss.
Yep, I'm sorry, go ahead.
This is Kevin. I would agree with you, Foss. I think it really does give it a lot of symmetry. It really looks good.
And I would
Yeah.
agree too also. It does even out the building nicely.
Kaylee, do you want to say anything?
No, I think it does even it out. I like that.
Okay. Do we have a motion on this? And the motion would be to adopt the findings and approve or disapprove the building permit for 120 North Summit Street as reviewed in accordance with KSA 75-224.
This is Kaylee, and I would motion that we approve it.
Okay.
This is, I would second that.
Who is this? Kevin? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so Kaylee Lawson has moved to approve the motion, and Kevin Cox has seconded, and the motion would be to adopt the findings and approve the building permit for 120 North Summit Street as reviewed in accordance with KSA 75-224. Josh, do we call a roll on this?
Yes, I'll go ahead and call the roll. Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Farrer,
Yes.
Mrs. Lawson,
Yes.
Mr. Lozano,
Yes.
Okay, so the motion is approved. The next item on the agenda is the historic review for a sign at 112 South Summit Street, Trust Company of Kansas, and that's on the Burford Building. Josh, do you want to give any background on that?
Sure. Of course, it goes by the same guideline. I won't read that again for the sake of time. But yes, Trust Company of Kansas, or sometimes known as TCK, is hiring Miracle Signs to install a new 3 foot by 5 inch by 9 foot 4 inch double-sided projecting wall sign. It's made with aluminum, steel, and acrylic, and it has a dimensional shaped logo with push-through letters. It is lit with LED modules. Care, of course, should be taken to ensure the mounting doesn't irreversibly damage the wall. This is a little bit different kind of sign than we're used to. There is a similar sign that RCD Bank has, actually 2 of them, on their building. But
Yes.
You guys see me here?
Yeah, go ahead, please. Is
This
there
is
any
Charles. Just
discussion?
trying to see. Do you guys
Charles.
know I'm here? Yeah, okay.
No,
All right.
Oh, no, we didn't. So Charles Jennings has joined the group. We are now on, Charles, do you know where we're at on the agenda?
Right.
We're on the TCK sign on the Burford Building. Now, the one thing I would note is that it is a projecting sign, but the Burford Marquise also projects on that building. Anybody else have anything to ask? The other thing go ahead.
I'm sorry, this is George, and does that office building take up you guys see all the windows at the bottom of that sign across there. As I remember now, I'm not sure, but is that 2 offices right there in that row of windows?
Yeah, see, this is Foss again, George, and I've talked to Tasha Booker, who's in that, works with Steve English, who's the president of TCK, and she said they've expanded the office. So yes, both of those doors are part of the TCK office now. It just recently was expanded. That's what I understand.
I would be concerned that if another tenant was in that proximity under those windows, that if they wanted to put up a sign that the TCK projection would block their sign, actually, unless they made a bigger sign or another projecting sign.
Mm-hmm. You mean other tenants in the Burford Block building itself?
I would be more concerned about particularly just the block of windows beneath that sign. That sign's a little to the left of that row of windows, but if they're occupying the whole space beneath those row of windows, I believe there's 2 offices in there, then I don't think I have a concern with that then.
Mm-hmm. Well, my understanding is they do have both of those. Both of those doors are part of the office, the same office.
Okay.
It's been expanded. So.
Mm-hmm. This is Josh. In fact, I don't even think that second door is even usable. They just maintained it because it was an entryway, and they actually did some tax credit project to get this done, so they had to leave that there. But they've remodeled.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. My graphic on the computer was only showing that row of windows. I've got it now. I can see both the entry doors to that office now. So, okay, that alleviates my concern.
Okay, got it. Josh, what about the LED lighting? Is that something? I don't know.
Well, I had wonder what I did with that file. I had a night render of that sign too.
Uh-huh.
What did I put that file?
While you guys are pausing, am I just audio or video?
Can you see anything on the screen?
I can see a kind of a motionless picture of Kevin Cox, and I can see your presentation slide.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have the night render in the presentation, but it looks like the letters, the TCK are lit up, and the little logo is lit up, and maybe backlighting of the logo. I can't tell for sure if that entire white area is actually lit or not.
Yeah.
Well, this is George again.
Go ahead. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering, why didn't they put that sign in the middle of those 4 windows above, right in the middle of their office building or office space? You see what I'm talking about? It's offset to the north. It would be.
It's not centered in the middle of their buildings.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's
what
true.
I mean.
Yeah, I wondered that too.
I think it should be.
Well, this is
possible.
Kevin. This is Kevin. I wonder if they wanted to kind of get it away from the marquee, because the marquee is pretty big and bright.
Mm-hmm.
That's true too. Yes.
So is the Burford directly south then of this office, or the theater itself entry? Because I can't tell on my photo.
I think there may be a arts office and then the Burford right beyond that. So.
Yeah, there's like one of their classrooms in between it and the marquee.
Yes, yes, so it
I
is,
see.
I mean, I think, was that you, Kaylee, this is Foss again? Was
Yes,
that you
it's
that
Kaylee.
said, was
Yeah,
that
it's
you that
Kaylee.
said that might be the reason? Because, no, that was Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin's the one that said it might be the reason that they did that way.
And I can understand that, I think.
Or possibly, was there another sign there and they wanted to use the existing electrical service there? Or has there never been a sign there? And this is George asking.
I don't know. I don't know the answer. Well, I was going to ask the question again. This is Foss. If TCK had, you know, the other tenants in the building knew about it and were okay with it, but maybe that's. Josh, do you know anything about that? Or,
I am not aware of that one way or the other.
okay.
Can
Well,
you guys hear
TCK is
me?
a very good. TCK is a great citizen of our city and has been involved in the arts, so I would give them the benefit. The only reason I asked about the lighting was, and this would be way in the future, if anybody lived in the upstairs, maybe the lighting would be an issue, but I don't see that now.
Am I audible? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
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 Okay. There's comments are pointing towards that, and I'm wondering do we envision that are kind of being a little Broadway, not Wichita's Broadway, but in Manhattan, New York Broadway, where we might see the proliferation of brightly lit signs through the downtown area. That would be the one thing. The Burford's sign, it's fabulous, but it kind of sets, right now it stands out and it's an eye grabber. In order to be, to do what they're wanting to do, it's actually going to have to be also quite vibrant. And then I think that was George that made the comment about it standing out and other people putting signs that might have to have them larger or brightly displayed. That would be the thing that I'd be thinking is, where do we go moving forward with signage downtown?
Very good point. I think that was Charles Jennings. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. That was Charles.
I would kind of agree with you, Charles. The other signs that we just approved, just down the block, are signs placed on the face of the building. I kind of personally think that preserves the character of the building a little bit more than having a projecting sign like this one out there. But I know there's other ones along Summit Avenue that have been approved in the past.
Right.
But echoing what Charles has just said, do we want these types of signs all up and down Summit, or well, that's a good question, I would say.
Well, this is Foss again. I would just say that what Josh mentioned, that the Home National has a projecting sign, and I don't know. I think that if the sign is put on appropriately without damaging the building, I would be kind of inclined to approve it. But that's just me. I mean, Kevin, what do you have to say, if anything?
Yeah, I do have a comment. This isn't a really big sign, that's especially compared to like the Union State Bank's projecting sign that they put on, which I think is a great asset to the downtown. It looks very nice.
Right.
And it looks
Union State is another one, right? Mm-hmm.
And also, I was thinking the reason they may have offset that is perhaps that's over the actual door they're using. Because I don't remember who said the other door is inoperable. And so I wonder if they didn't just put that above the door that actually is their entrance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good. And can I just coattail for clarification? I guess my thought process is with that is a projecting sign. The more of those you get, typically in commercial districts, the more of those you get, the more dramatic they have to be in order to be seen. Otherwise, you just don't put one out, or you just, paint a metal sign along the face of the building. So that I'm just wanting to say, going forward, if someone else says, "Hey, I want to put a sign out too," or they're going to have to either put a bright sign out that stands out, from the others in order to be, you put them out to be seen, and if it's hard to be seen next to the Burford as it is, but I thought that was okay because of what it represents in the downtown area. But if we're going to have complementing signs, I'll say complementing instead of competing, we're going to have complementing signs, then, you don't put a dimly lit sign beside a brightly lit sign. And so that's just so we have to be thinking, we have to be thinking, what do we see downtown going towards if other people want to do a project that would draw attention to their business and their building?
This is Kaylee here.
Okay.
Now correct me if I'm wrong, Foss, but we just looked at quite a few photos of the downtown, and
Correct.
there were
Yeah, I was going to bring that up
tons of
later on.
projecting signs in the history. The old photos, there all kinds of businesses had those types of signs, so it's actually not out of character for the historic district to have those.
And that point's taken. Mine is just,
That's a good
so
point.
the question, I'm sorry, I'm going to back. Let me say this, and I'm going to mute and listen for a bit. But so then I'm just saying, then we're okay with it being precipitous towards the downtown area looking more like it did then, with many projected and well illuminated signs. Of course, lighting's different now, but as long as we're thinking that, to me, I just wanted to push us to think that way. Bright sign, bright sign, bright sign, dull sign is not going to happen. If you have more signs, they're all going to take on that same nature. So if we are looking down the road and saying that would be a vibrant downtown, an attractive downtown, then it's a good thing to do. Thank you for giving me the space to share these thoughts. I'll be a listener now.
Thanks, Charles. And Kaylee, you're right. I'm just now kind of looking at you. This is Foss again. I do want to thank Kaylee. It's maybe not the right place in the agenda, but we gave a presentation, a slide presentation about the historic buildings downtown. And, they had a cafe sign that was, that came out like that, right where kind of, now then the Burford hadn't been built, but it was right next to Highland Hall. And then of course the AC office building, which are you there? The AC office building had a projecting sign, power on light, and I barely remember that. But so I tend to agree with you, Kaylee. Taylor Drug also had a projecting sign back in the, I'd say that's the 1920s, 30s. Any more discussion?
I appreciate the feedback on that. I'll just say that. and the thought and that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, if there's no more discussion, Josh, do you want to say anything?
I have nothing further to add.
Okay.
Foss, this is George again.
Yes.
Can you tell me what the dimensions of that sign was again? Was that 9 feet high? That's a pretty big sign.
About 3.5 by 9.5, give or take a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Now, I wonder what that sign would look.
Okay.
Yeah, 9.5 feet. Josh said. I just wondered what that sign would look like if it was laid on its side and configured differently with the letters and placed on the face of that building.
Hmm.
The only problem is, this is Josh, we don't want to cover up those transom windows that they just uncovered either. So.
No, I would be between the transom windows and the double hungs above them.
Right.
Right along in that space, I don't see. I think maybe a sign appropriately placed in that space may be more appropriate.
Kevin, do you have anything to say on this?
Well, actually, I would prefer as it is presented. I don't. I usually agree with everything George says, but I don't agree with that. I think I like the way it's projected there, down stuck between those transit windows and those upper windows. I don't know that I would like that appearance at all. And like we've talked about, projecting signs are historic for the downtown.
Yes.
Right.
Kevin, I think that's a good point. I would tend to agree with that. So, well, are we ready for any more discussion? Kaylee, did you have anything to add?
Nope.
Okay. Well, let's go then to the motion. The historic review for sign at 112 South Summit Street, Trust Company of Kansas. And the motion would be to adopt the findings and approve/disapprove the building permit for 112 South Summit Street as reviewed in accordance with KSA 75-224. Are there any motions?
This is Kaylee. I would motion that we adopt it.
This
Okay.
is Go ahead.
This is Kevin. I motion, give a second on that motion.
Okay. So Kaylee Lawson has moved to accept the historic review sign for Trust Company Kansas, and Kevin Cox has seconded. Now, what is the Josh? Do we go to roll now, or we've already had discussion? So
Yeah, if you're ready for the roll, I can do it.
okay, let's have a vote then, please.
Mr. Cox?
I vote yes.
Mr. Farrer?
Yes.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
Mrs. Lawson?
Yes.
And Mr. Lozano?
Yes.
Okay, motion is approved. Our next agenda item, I think, goes to Josh. It's other items, Historic Preservation Fund grant opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because the state is shut down right now, they extended the deadline for the grant. I still don't think that we are in a position to do a grant to expand the district this year because we just don't have enough support from the property owners. But there is the other option of doing a grant for another purpose. And one of the purposes that has been brought up, Shippo has also kind of mentioned it before, is like educational workshops or trainings. We've talked about that a few times, but nothing's really come to fruition. I really like what we did a couple weeks ago at the Burford. However, that really didn't cost any direct, it didn't have any direct cost for us, so there wouldn't have been a use for a grant for that sort of program. You also cannot use it for food or drinks. It doesn't matter if that's alcohol or not. It would not be permitted. So it has to be something tangible like speaker fees, space rental, those kinds of things. Would there be any interest in doing something along those lines?
This is Kaylee.
Well, go ahead, Kaylee. Yes.
I think that anything that we can do to help educate and get people more aware is a bonus.
Absolutely.
This is Foss. I agree with that, but I have a question for Josh. You said the grant is not for food or drink, but if we had it for a speaker, could we provide food or drink at some function?
We could, but we just couldn't count it as for the grant. We couldn't request
I don't
funds.
understand. Well, I mean,
Basically, Foss, the grant money couldn't go to that, but we could figure out a way to fund it through other means.
Correct.
And include it in the event. That's my question.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We could be included in the event.
Okay. Right.
Something Katrina suggested is something like that, like you charge a fee if you're going to serve a meal. So the registrants would, that's how you would.
Okay. Have you talked to Katrina recently about this?
I did a little bit of talking with her. Let me see if I can find, I don't know if I still have anything. So here she says, there just has to be a tangible product and it has to be preservation focused. And she mentions something like a walking tour, brochure, website, mobile app. But then she also said, and this is where I come up with this, hosting a workshop to provide guidance on window repairs, for example, or doing some kind of assessment.
A question, if I may.
Whatever we do has to be a tangible product that comes out of it.
Could a walking tour be targeted towards the thoughts of creating the religious, I think, structures, historical structures that we've talked about in the area, or does it have to be the existing district?
That could be something I ask her, but I think that would still be pretty relevant because even though those buildings are not listed, they are eligible for listing. Or we are.
Well, along those lines, Josh, and this is a little bit tangential, not exactly what we're discussing, but have they postponed the next meeting to look at applications for being on the register or not?
Yeah,
when is the next?
The next one that they do that, it's supposed to be like May 2nd or something, and I think that was still totally up in the air.
Okay.
Because it just depends what happens with the virus.
Yeah. True. Okay. I'm sorry, I kind of got off the track there, but what were you envisioning, Josh? I mean, the walking tour sounds interesting, but we don't want to, I mean, I agree with Charles. I want to get the churches on board, but if we just do the churches, what about and we don't want to walk 5 miles or anything like that. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but
Well, keep in mind that there
uh,
is a walking tour brochure that was done
yes.
years
yes,
ago or
true.
something like that, 15 years ago. So there one does exist.
So
I
that
do.
would be
This
kind
is
of,
Kaylee.
I kind of be, go ahead.
I was gonna
Yes.
say I do think that walking tour brochure needs updated. If I remember from the last time I looked at it.
Yes, I hope there's no building that's been torn down that's in there, but I agree with that, Kaylee.
Sharing a comment, this Charles. I just threw that out, but I guess I didn't want us to get lost in the construct of what that tour might be. I think that what I hear is an interest or support for pursuing the grant and doing something, because I just genuinely believe any dialogue about the project or the initiative is positive, even if it uncovers some resistance. It's better for us to have that conversation now while we're muddling along in the march that lives in infamy, as opposed to getting further down the road and then having to stop and clear those hurdles. I think dialogue is always good, and if there's something we could do to promote that with the grant, then I'm strongly on board with that.
Charles, I think that's well said. I agree with that. And Josh, just a question about the March 11th presentation Kaylee and I put on. Were there any of the owners of the proposed expanded district at that meeting? I don't think so, but I'm asking you.
Not that I'm aware of. We didn't take a proper role or anything, but not that I'm aware of, even without that.
I did see, though, several business owners, and for example, the Smiths and some others that were there, and then farther down South Summit that were there, and a lot of people that have that have interest. Yeah, and Hap McLeod's another one. So anyhow, that's a kind of a side issue. I think I agree with what Charles said, though, that the word gets out if we do things like this, and maybe we can get people excited about rejuvenating our downtown, preserving it. So
This is Kate.
George.
Mhm.
Yeah, Eddie, a question for Josh is, would a grant cover our expenses of doing an update on a walking tour guide?
Yeah, in fact, if you can see my screen, I have part of that page up, and it says eligible products include but are not limited to, and walking tour brochures is right there.
Well, there you go. I think that'd be a great project to update that walking tour brochure, and hopefully the grant will help us out on doing that.
That would be a good project. I agree with that.
This is Kaylee. I also think it might be worth looking into creating an app of some type, because you might be able to get younger people more involved in doing it.
Excellent, because I'm a dinosaur and I don't think in those terms, but you're absolutely right.
And this is Foss, and I agree with Kaylee. Yeah, if we can make it so people can do it on their own, or we don't have to train a lot of people to. Sandy and Pam are real good. Pam Crane and Sandy Randall, I'm sure would be great at doing these tours,
Right.
but it'd also be nice to have an app. So make it easy.
And I imagine, hey,
people.
this is George again. I would imagine the grant would help with the cost of having an app put together too.
Yes.
Yeah. This is great dialogue.
This is
Great thinking.
Kevin. Going back to what you were saying there, you know, in summer school at the middle school a few years back, the kids actually made a walking tour that was designed to set up to where when they walked up to a building, you could actually go on your cell phone and get a little bit of a video presentation of that building. All that stuff was given, I think, to the Visitors Bureau, and I don't know if they still have it or not, or whatever happened to it. You know, it was a project for our summer school program, but what happened to all that stuff, I don't know.
Yeah, this is Foss. I don't have an answer to that. Yeah, that'd be great to look at that for sure. We'd want to make sure everything there was accurate. I think the kids did a really super job.
Yeah, but like you said, I think based on our survey that we had done of the historic downtown, it probably would need to be updated anyway, because after all, these were just middle school kids and they did a great job. But I think there was a lot more information on the buildings now, you know, than we did then.
Yes.
And I'm the amen corner. I think and a special benefit of that is what you're looking for, support. And if you have kids, even if it was for an assignment, who created something that could be beneficial, no better way to get a little bit more interest than for the kids and for their families to see their work as a part of this initiative. You know, we want to build support. So again, that's great input. Good. Thanks, Kevin.
Those kids would be in high school now, I think, but I'm sure they remember doing that.
Yes, that's good. Josh, you ever given some food for thought here?
Yeah, my main thing is just coming up with what the costs actually are and how much money to request for the grant. But I can see if I can contact Katrina. Hopefully she's still getting her emails, and ask a couple questions about that. But I think that's definitely doable. Just have to figure out exactly how to write the grant, which is fine. That's my problem.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
I noticed on your list here, Josh, it says National Register Historic District nominations. I was wondering if that grant money could also be used for that, because I think some of our churches, perhaps, and maybe even some of our downtown buildings, they might be interested in doing that.
Well, it has to be the district. It can't be individuals in that case, I believe.
Okay.
Yes, that was what we were going to do originally, was use one of these grants to do historic district nomination.
Okay.
I don't know if I hope that answered what you were trying to say.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think, I don't know, Josh, if you have anything else to say on this, or I guess the next step would be for you to contact Katrina on at least tell her that we're interested in applying for. What is the deadline? Well, we don't, or did you say it's just been extended?
April 30th is what the official deadline is to apply. Okay. Now, I do have to take it before the city commission before that point, just because we have to have their approval to do it.
Yeah.
So I have to have a little bit more time than that to do it, but.
Okay. Well, would there be? It sounds like the consensus is to go ahead with it. Would there be a motion to have Josh do that? Or do we need to discuss this more?
Well, when you're ready for a motion, I'd like to offer it.
Haley, did you have something to say?
No.
This is George again here, and I think that we need to kind of discuss doing the updated pamphlet stuff. And if we have 30 days, that's not a long time, but I'm not sure what our next scheduled meeting is. I'm sure it's probably not before that. But I think we should investigate the cost of doing an app and updating our brochures so Josh can have some kind of an idea of what kind of amount of grant to ask for.
Yes, that's good. And, we want the brochure to be professional looking, just like the one that now exists. It's a little out of date. So I agree, yeah. So you're saying, George, that kind of putting that into a motion that Josh is allowed to investigate costs and of those two items and then go to the city commission?
Yeah, I would do that. And if anybody can help out on that, if anybody's expertise is in that kind of printing or anything, maybe I know Josh has got a big load on his shoulders right now, and
well,
if any of the board members can help out on that information and get it to Josh, I'm sure he appreciate it.
This is Foss, and a person that comes to mind for this would can you guys hear me?
I told them they got it.
Yes.
Okay. Anita Jenkins has had this kind of experience with the Home National Bank and in marketing and all that kind of stuff. That'd be one person that might be able to help. I'm okay with writing, but as far as design and all that other layout, that's not my deal.
What was the gentleman's name at RCB?
I'd be glad to sit in with whoever does.
That'd be great if somebody could contact that individual and see if he'd be willing to help on this project.
Josh?
That works for me, but we need to decide whether or not we need to have another meeting before I actually take it to the city commission.
I would say we should have another get together, either virtually or probably not in person, but I think it would be totally appropriate to see where we're at that point.
Probably the latest.
Yeah, I would be available. This is Foss. I would certainly. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I'd probably be within the next 2 weeks.
What do we think about April 13th?
13th?
Uh-huh.
That I think works for me. Anybody else want to chime in here?
I'm not planning any vacations.
Give me just a moment. Let me look at. Okay, 2 weeks. I can do that.
That would be a Monday. Yeah, 2 weeks.
We're going to do the same format online?
Most likely, yes.
Yeah. That works for me too.
Yep, I should be able to make it.
5:30 regular time.
Yeah.
Should not be a problem for me either. This is Kevin.
Do we need to approve that Josh do this, or Josh, can you just do it?
Whether we call it a motion or just a expression of concurrence,
yeah.
I would like to at least have offered support for that Josh would pursue the grant initiative, the steps towards the grant initiative. And I'd also like to go ahead and say that while we might go for more than that, I think it's critical that we put some interest and time into updating the brochure and redesigning it, updating it, making sure we don't have structures that are no longer existing. listed on there. I think that's really important to us.
I agree.
So,
Okay, Josh, I mean, we don't really need to, or do we need to vote on this? I'm asking you as a very
Honestly,
new
I think I would
president.
prefer to have the motion after the next meeting.
Okay, good. So
Okay.
we're right. We can adjourn in a minute, but right now we've got another meeting set up for 5:30, April 13th, and be a virtual meeting like this one. Is everybody on board with that?
Yes.
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 Okay, I think we're ready to. Anything to add, Josh? Or
No, I
Does
just
anybody-
want to thank everybody for being willing to meet this way. It's not much fun, but it's working. So
It works, and it's a great way. And this is George, and I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
George, and who seconds, please?
Charles.
Charles, George moves to adjourn, and Charles seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, meeting is adjourned. Josh,
Great
you
job,
wanna- How
Josh.
do we hang up?
thanks, everybody.
Great job, Josh.